Hi, I'm Daniel. This is the TriathlonDan YouTube channel, and this is a Cervelo P series which I bought about 6 weeks or so ago now. And when I bought it, I thought this was going to be my race bike for 2025 to do some triathlons and time trialing on. Now I'm not so sure, but in any case, the bike has a few things on it that I need to sort. I've got a couple of upgrades and also a few things that I need to freshen up a bit. So I thought I'd show you what I do with that sort of thing. Maybe you've bought a bike or you're looking at a bike that you think, oh, that's not quite right. It's quite a lot you can do to, spruce up a used bike. So let me show you what sort of things I'm looking at. So when I bought this bike, yes, I've made sure it's in like mechanically sound condition and structurally sound. There's not really any like major damage on it or anything, but it is a used bike. Firstly, the drivetrain is in good condition. That is a Shimano recoil crank, so I need to get that looked at. But the group set isn't actually going into the big ring. I think synchro shift is set up and it's just not quite shifting. It's absolutely a setup issue, but I need to sort that. The biggest thing for me is just the general paint condition. If I am to resell this, or even if I'm to use it myself, when you've spent a lot of money on a bike, you don't want it to look rough, and like if you get close up to the wheels, you just tell they're a little bit grimy. Maybe it's like oily residue or just muck and dust. Same on the frame really, just quite a bit of like sticky residue and just muck, and then there is a few marks which I'm going to come back to as well. So the first thing I've done is I have actually given this bike a good old wash. So degreaser, fairy liquid, soaked it up good and proper and given it a decent wash, and now it's back inside ready to go through these bits. So I'm mostly going to focus on the paintwork in this one. So you can see here on the seat tube, there is a little scratch there. That is like through the paint, that's just a bit of a hair there, but there's some also lighter marks there, and you can do a lot of stuff with those just to get rid of them quite easily. That big one, I'm not so sure if I'll get that out, but I might be able to make it look a bit better. It has had a chain drop. Now, again, that's only superficial, so I might be able to make that look a little bit better. I don't want to like hide the history of the bike, but that happens to a used bike, doesn't it? So bound to happen at some point. Up at the front here again, this is a little bit sticky or a little bit like, just feels a little bit rough. So whether that's muck or whether it's just, I don't know, any sort of damage, I don't know, but I'm going to get some stuff on that and have a look at it. And I think that's about it. There's a bit of a black mark. Oh, that's just wiped it off. Nice one, fixed that one already. I'm just going to give it a bit of a, you see there, look, on the seat post, it's just a bit like blurry, just a bit like hazy, so it just needs a bit of love. As I said, when I bought this my intention was to race this next year, so I ordered immediately, as you do, a couple of upgrades. First one, the official Cervelo down to bottle. The bike did not have this. I think it's going to look pretty cool, pretty slick, pretty aero, and makes the bike look a bit more like it's a meaningful race bike. I've seen a lot of people who own these bikes use these as tool storage rather than bottles. They say they're quite slippy and hard to actually use to drink, but I thought, well, I'm going to get one and see how they go. Then I also bought off of eBay a 3D printed like tool storage. So this goes around the seat tube, the seat post. There's a little magnetic lid on it, enough to get your spares in for races. So I think these are actually made to order, and it's just a guy that prints them, I think. So they're not that expensive. I've seen some on Rad Sport and other websites that are like 200 quid, but this was about £40, so a bit more reasonable and hopefully still fit for purpose. But let's get them fitted and see what they look like. There we go, that certainly looks a bit more race ready, doesn't it? And I do know that filling in this space aerodynamically is supposed to be very good for bikes. So although it's not fully filled in, like surely that's better than nothing. Reassuring to see when I've taken the seat post out, there's carbon paste on the seat post. Little things like that give you a good indication of how well the bike's been looked after, and that does say that yes, at some point this bike has had some love. There we go then, I think that looks okay. I mean, you can clearly tell it's an aftermarket 3D printed part with all the lines in it, but for the money, I'm not going to grumble at that at all. I suppose if you were really particularly could have it painted, but I'm just not that bothered about it, especially if I'm not going to be keeping the bike. But yeah, I think a cool little pair of upgrades there that didn't break the bank, and I think add to a nice bike. So what can you do for paintwork on bikes then to resurrect it? Now, it's worth bearing in mind that carbon fiber is different to metal, so what you use on cars isn't always the same as what you use on a bike, and a lot of people on cars will do some machine polishing and such like, and that's really, it might be possible on this, but for me, an amateur, it's not worth the risk of damaging carbon. So I'll only be using cloths and things I can do with my hand, and I'm not using very aggressive products either, because I don't want to bite into the paint or into the lacquer and damage the carbon or ruin the paint or anything like that. I'm just trying to touch it up a little bit, make it look a little bit better, but I'm not trying to get rid of any like significant damage or anything like that. So firstly, I have some glue and tar remover. This I use quite a lot for like race numbers, pull them off seat posts and stuff. Some of the stuff on the bike might be like tar that's flicked up on the road, so I'll just give it a quick wipe over with some of this. Don't want to leave it sit on the bike too long, that I'm only going to use it underneath really, but I'll just see if that has any effect on it. And then the polish that I've got is Poor Boy's Black Hole. Now this is again from my sort of car fiddling days. This is like a glaze polish, so it's supposed to be designed that when you rub it into paint, it like fills the gaps in, so when you've got swirls or little marks, it just fills it in and smooths it out, so they're supposed to make the paint look better. You can get products like, I forget what they're called, but like, you know, things that are pretty much designed to smudge paint around and to get rid of scratches. I'm not doing that because it is like an aggressive product, so I don't want to cause more damage than what there already is there. And then I'll just be using microfiber cloths again because I know they're not too abrasive. I'm just applying them by hand, buffing them off, and then just seeing what it looks like essentially. Nothing too crazy, but let's see if this makes any difference. So the first area we're going to look at is this area here. That's not particularly damaged, but it's just like a bit hazy, isn't it? There's like a little mark as if it's either been rubbed up against something or some product's been left on it and, you know, it's just like damaged this top layer of paint or something. Wiping it and washing it doesn't seem to do anything, so I'm going to try and get some Poor Boy's Black Hole on it and see if that has any effect. So I've just got a dot on the cloth there and I'm just going to apply it. I'm just going to work it in a little bit. I'm not pressing on too hard, I'm just sort of giving the product something to work with all around it, and this might be absolutely no different, but it might be a lot better, and it's just worth a go, isn't it? I never really know how long to, like if you leave these on or not, or if you just work it in and then buff it off. I don't think you're supposed to leave it on for too long, so it just becomes harder to buff off, but we will see. And in theory, this, you know, this helps this out because it's only a bike, it's not a massive car. I'll just do the whole bike. I thought it'd be interesting to see on these specific parts. Let's buff it off straight away and see if that has any effect. Yeah, I'm going to say better, but not 100%. And just down there you can see there's a few more marks as well. I don't know if the camera's picking that up very well or not, so we'll go again. The way I understand this is that there's no real particular way to apply it. I guess on cars you're trying to fill in swirls, so you might want to go straight so that the swirl marks are getting this product in each way. But this sort of thing hasn't been polished, hasn't been through a car wash, so it's just a case of just getting it onto the bike. And because I'm sure that it's very clean, I've just washed it, I'm not rubbing in like grit and sand or anything, so I shouldn't be causing any more damage than's already there. There we go, that's a lot better, isn't it? Those bits at the bottom haven't come off as well, where they've only had one application. Let's give them another one. Usually a clean part of the cloth to buff it off. And there you go. I mean, you can still, if you look super close, you can see a tiny bit there. If I did it another couple of times, I might get rid of that. But I think that is a whole lot better. Let me try and move you around a bit, as you can see that. That's a lot better. You can hardly even see that, and I'm really happy with that. And as like somebody who's potentially going to be selling a bike, I don't want it to feel like I'm trying to cover things up, because I'm not. I'm just trying to make it, like if I was keeping this, I'd want it to be a bit more spruced up, so I'd be doing this sort of thing. And of course, I'm putting a video up on the internet about what I'm doing, so it's not really hiding it, but yeah, that's a good little thing there. Now let's have a look at something a bit more of a damage. So this scratch here is, well, I think it's through the paint, and I don't think we're going to see any improvement with this. If you can just see that there. But we'll apply the same technique and we'll see if that has any improvement. This is the sort of thing where I would be tempted to use a bit more of an aggressive product. It does potentially bite into the paint, but as I say, I'm just not confident enough that I know what to do. So I'd rather give it a go, and if it doesn't work, well, there's just a scratch on it. It's just far too much for that. Is there one there as well? Yeah, there's one there as well. Let's give that a little bit. You can't see that higher one, so there's one a little bit further up. I'm just doing on the chainstay there. Seat stay, sorry. So with this scratch here, I'm trying to go against it rather than up and down it. I think that has a better effect in rubbing, like merging the paint, if that's at all possible. Right, let's give that a go. I mean, I'd maybe say a tiny bit better, but that's not, like, you can still see it, can't you, when you get up close to it, so I don't think that's the, like, that's focus now, I don't think that's a mega job, but right up close to it, if I'm further away, like, can you see that really? Not really, so worth doing, but I don't think that's a fix for bigger scratches like that. But definitely worthwhile that bit further up though. So this is the other area of concern. This is near the front of the bike, and just there, I'm not quite sure what that is, so I'm going to do the same thing, apply some polish to it and just see if it has any improvements on it. With it feeling a little bit rough, it does make me think, oh, is there something like in the lacquer or something? But you never really know what's happened, or if it's just been lent up against something, or if it is in fact something on top of the paint. So I can feel that there, it's slightly rough. So is it either something under the lacquer or is it something really sticky that's on it? I don't really know. But I'll do this first. I don't think that will have. No, so that is exactly the same. But so what we'll try with that then is we'll try a bit of the tar and glue remover. I'm going to use a different cloth for this, so I don't mix up cloths. So this is a bit different in that you don't work it on, you just sort of spray it on and it's on, and then you sort of need to use it to try and get rid of the glue. So I'm just going to no, that's not doing anything. If that was glue, it would have started to come off. That product is quite good. So what I'm putting that down to is that's just one of those things for a second-hand bike that there's a couple of marks on it that you're not going to be able to get rid of because it's a second-hand bike. Now with the wheels, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm just going to use some Autoglim Rapid Detailer. The reason for this is, and this is pretty much like a wax protector. This doesn't really do anything for the actual like paint effect. But this wheel, I mean, it looks just a little bit like, almost like it's mucky, but it's not because I have cleaned it. And I don't want to go polishing this because it is like you straight onto the, I know there's a lacquer on it, but you straight onto the carbon. So I don't want to risk like damaging any of the integrity that you see there. So this might just be something that adds a bit of a depth to the colour and just, I don't know, picks it up. And I also think if it doesn't do anything good, well, it's not going to have done anything bad. So it's worth a go. So I will try and not get this on my brake discs and just give it a go on a small section and just see what it looks like. And now this is very much a, like you'd use this after a polish. So that area that I polished on the bike, I'd use this afterwards just to sort of seal it, and it helps it stay cleaner for longer and so on. But let's have a look. Is that any better? It's hard to tell, isn't it, really? I think that is a bit better, actually. Yeah, that's come up a bit better. It's hard to tell if it's still wet. Let's give it another go. Yes, I'm going to dry. Yeah, so if we compare that to that, that just looks like a normal carbon wheel now, doesn't it? Whereas that is the previous like grubby stage. Yeah, that's probably just a bit of built-in muck. There we go, so before, after. And the joys of disc brakes is because if this was a rim brake bike, I'd be worried about putting anything on the brake track because it wouldn't stop anymore, whereas this isn't a problem. So yeah, let's give that a bit more of a go. Yeah, it's not working on absolutely every single bit like there. Look, that's just a little bit discoloured. Maybe the polish would have a bit more of an effect on that, but I just don't want to start messing with it too much. I don't mind giving it a little go with some things, but I just don't want to get too like, you know, too into it. So then the only fault with it is that I can't get it to go in the big ring. I'm going down the gears now. It's supposed to be in synchro shift, and the front mech is just not shifting. Free hub is obnoxiously loud. I am told that the junction box, if you double tap the button, that changes the shift mode. There we go. So I'll just put it into manual shift mode, so I'll press both buttons and it goes into what I'm assuming is manual mode. Oh, there we go, so that's in, oh, it must be in synchro. Or is that semi-shrink, oh, I don't know. So wrong. So that's in full synchro shift now. Perfect, that's fine. Yeah, perfect. There we go. That was easy. So there we go, Cervelo P Series, a little bit more spruced up. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with this bike longer term. I'm definitely going to get out for a ride or two on it before I make my full decision. Got a couple of other bikes in the mix at the minute, but this is the only one that's in one piece, fully working, ready to go. So I don't want to get rid of it and kick myself if anything else doesn't get built or work or repaired or whatever. I do have some other stuff to sort, like this Di2 junction box. I'm just going to raise the steerer up to the top so it's set on the top again. I tried to scrub the armrest pads that are a little bit funky. We've had some use and they're just a bit old. However, they've not come up any cleaner, so they just are what they are. I'll try and get some replacements, but the Zip ones are quite old now, so I don't know if Zip do those anymore. What else was I going to do? The non-drive side power meter is look like it's ever so slightly caught the chainstay, so I'm going to change this crank out for another one I've got with no power meter on before I ride it. But other than that, that is pretty much like that's race ready. I'll be happy to ride that and race that. So let me know your thoughts down below. And what else would you do when you get a second-hand bike to spruce it up or to check it over or to, you know, improve it in any way you think? Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.